Are you always coming up with ideas? Do you marvel at successful business owners? Do you hate being told what to do? Ever take things apart just to see how they work? Are you a dreamer? If you've answered yes to any of these questions, this podcast is for you. Welcome to the Entrepreneurial Enclave with Kevin Wortham, the podcast that focuses on building, maintaining, pivoting, planning, and investing in you, the entrepreneur. But first, a word from our sponsor.
Pro Tapes and Specialties is the world leader in tape manufacturing and specialty conversion with over 40 years of experience. In addition to our pro brand of high-quality specialty adhesive tapes, we provide contract converting services that help improve your profitability, streamline your supply chain, and reduce inventory cost. We offer the most complete range of converting capabilities in the industry, such as cloth tape, double-coated tape, specialty tape, paper tape, masking tape, vinyl tape,
carton sealing tape, adhesive transfer tape, duct tape, foam tape, electrical tape, filament tape, foil tape, reflective tape.
And the tape just keeps on rolling. Visit us online today at www.protapes.com or call us at 800-345-0234. Pro Tapes, it's just how we roll.
Welcome to another fantastic episode of the Entrepreneur Enclave, Life's Coming Attraction. I am your host, Kevin Wortham. Man, let me tell you something. I believe in spontaneity. I believe in the stars aligning themselves. Brother Charles, what's going on, man?
I'm doing well, Kev.
Good.
Like you said, spontaneity.
Absolutely.
I was just calling you to see how you're doing, and now I'm on your podcast.
Absolutely. But I'm going to tell you a little secret, though. When I first started podcasting and I started looking at the entrepreneurs at Pitt, everybody said, when are you going to get Brother Charles on? And I said, you know what? I'm going to do it. And I really wanted to get you on after you were interviewed by Bert Grossman, right? I had a chance to circle back around, and I had Bert on the podcast as well. And I said to Bert, before we get into who you are, we need to do some house cleaning. And I had to clean house with Bert a little bit and kind of share with him that Lothrop was an African-American dorm, and he would have been better suited if he'd have just said that or not said anything at all.
Bert was a part of the tribe.
Yeah, I don't know which tribe he was a part of, but that's my man. That's my man. But I could really hear the maturity in his voice. I really heard that he was owning up to, and we just talked about segregation, racism. We really had a great podcast, man. So let's you and I just jump into it right now, man. How did you come to Pitt? I knew that you were All-American basketball player, but why did you choose Pitt though?
I was raised in Bridgeport, Connecticut, and when most people think about Connecticut, they think it's I guess you would want to say a lily white state, very few, not much diversity, which is probably right. But there are a few cities in the state that are very diverse, and Bridgeport happens to be the largest city in the state and the most diverse. Bridgeport speaks 67 languages. And when I visited Pitt, I actually was attracted to the city campus because I knew I didn't want to be on a rural campus. I liked the fact that when you walked around on the weekends when I visited, it was very diverse. And I realized that some of the diversity in the city in Oakland was from the Hill District, where a lot of people from the projects would come down into Oakland.
Yes.
Well, those are my people also, so
Absolutely.
It was a great vibe on Oakland's campus.
Yes.
And I loved that. And then I also wanted to be a part of establishing a presence of a new program because they were pitching how they wanted to turn it into a basketball school,
yes,
and as well as the acclaim that it got for being a football school. So I got engaged with those conversations and made a decision to go there.
Now, Brother Charles, what other schools, even though you were highly recruited, what other schools were coming after you?
Well, quick story.
Yes.
No one had to recruit me. There was only one school on this planet that I wanted to go to, and that was the University of Maryland.
Okay.
And they didn't even have to recruit me. I was already there. But I needed to take an official visit.
Yes.
And they wanted me to come down. But I had already grown up at University of Maryland's campus because my family lived in Maryland. I grew up in the summertime playing in College Park up on the basketball courts at the top of the football stadium.
Yes.
So I was there. However, when I went to go take my first visit there, I got a phone call. They called me before I left the house, and it was Coach Sherman Dillard. And he starts talking to my mother, and my mother says, "Here, you tell him." I get on the phone very quickly, cut the story short. He says, "Hey, Charles, we were pressured into signing a hometown hero, Derek Lewis, so we don't have any more scholarships left. We know that you're going to be a great player, and we wish you the utmost success, but there's no reason for you to come down because we don't even have any scholarships left. We just signed them yesterday."
What?
And I was heart busted.
Yes.
And then Dean Smith called maybe 2 days later, and I said, "Nah, I'm all Big East."
Wow.
I just didn't want to have nothing to do with Maryland or the ACC. So I was like, I'm all Big East. And then I opened up my recruiting and turned down my home state, UConn,
Yes.
because it was a rural campus, and it's definitely not what it is today. And I ended up loving the decision I made to go to Pitt.
Man, I love the decision you made too, and I couldn't even imagine you in those red uniforms from Maryland. Wow.
Well, I saw it. That's for sure.
Okay.
I saw it.
So you come onto campus, and let's really get into it now, because this is what the people really want to hear. You were staying in Lothrop, correct?
I actually stayed in Tower C for the summer that I got there. I went to Pitt early.
Okay, got you.
And I got a summer job.
Okay.
Doing construction.
Charles,
So
wait. Charles Smith doing construction.
Oh yeah, man. No. Listen,
real construction.
No, real construction.
Okay.
I was a laborer.
Okay.
I was a laborer for a Massaro Construction Company.
Okay.
I worked on painting and restructuring the stadium.
Okay.
I worked at a mall out in Monroeville.
Okay.
I got picked up every morning at 4:30 a.m. in front of the O, and I would get back on campus around 6:30 at night. Dirty. I got so dirty, Kev, that I would take off my clothes.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't wash them,
Yeah.
and I put them back on just to go to work in the morning. I take a shower, put the dirty clothes back on. Bruh, I was so tired during work that I would hide during lunchtime. I was sleeping on dirt mounds. I was sleeping in closets just to get a nap in.
Wow.
Let me tell you something. It gave me the ultimate respect for manual labor.
Got you.
But to answer your question, so I stayed in Lothrop Hall once the school year came in. I was in Lothrop Hall for 2 years on the same floor, third floor, and it was a great experience.
Now, going back to the work experience, though, you had like a hard helmet and hard hat and work boots too, man?
Yeah, so there was a team of us that needed to be at the work site.
Yes.
An hour and a half before the construction workers would come, because we had to churn the cement. We had to put the ropes out. We had to get all the, labor tools that they needed.
Yes.
For when they came into work, that they can go get right to work. And then we were the last to leave because we had to clean up the site. So when people walked by and it was just a clean site.
Yes.
At the end of the day. So we were the first one there and last one to leave. That's why my hours were so long.
Wow. And,
I made $16, $17 an hour, so it wasn't bad.
Yeah.
But let me tell you something. It was hard work.
Well, they got every ounce and every penny from you, brother.
But you know what? I tell you what I did love about it.
Yes.
Is that was my workout during the summer, because I was like taking wheelbarrows of cement bags and rocks, and if nobody's been in the inside of the stadium when it was there, I had to roll them all the way up because there was no elevator that you can take it up. So I had to roll it up on the turning turnstile all the way up to the top, and then drop it off, go back down, and I had to do that for about 2 or 3 hours. So hamstrings, arms, and then what did I do after when I got back? I went to the O. It was like clockwork. A steak and cheese, foot long with extra cheese, and a pizza. Every night I would eat that when I got back.
Wow.
and then some cheese fries.
And with all the calories you were expending, you certainly could devour all of that, brother. That's all right.
Yeah, so I went from 210 to 230 in a matter of a month.
So you finish your summer work. You're in Lothrop, right? You're on the 3rd floor. Who were your 3rd floor buddies?
Oh man, the first year, I think Eddie Mack was to my right.
Okay.
Because Eddie Mack was there for the 2 years I was there.
Okay.
Mark Hall was to my left.
Yeah.
Demetrius Gore was down at the end of the hall, last door on the left.
Yeah.
Tim Roseborough was down the hall, across the hall before Demetrius.
Yes.
You had Bob White around the corner, loud Bob White from Philly.
Yeah.
You had Jordash from York. He was only there for a year.
Okay.
Yeah, man, we had and on the up, it was co-ed dorm, obviously.
Yeah.
But we had some characters on our floor, man. It was a good time.
Yeah, because I didn't come to the 3rd floor until my 2nd year. Because my freshman year, I was in a quad on the second floor. It was Chuck Williams, Dexter Harrison, and Terrell Austin. We were on the 2nd floor in that quad. As soon as you got off the elevator to the left. But
so we let you into our party.
Absolutely, but 2nd year, sophomore year,
because it was a party.
Absolutely,
it was a party.
I'm trying to tell you, brother, we had a great time. So now, listen, what did you ever think that you were missing something by going to Pitt versus a historical black college?
Now that I'm older, I can think of it 2 different ways.
Okay.
I would encourage every aspiring athlete that has the opportunity to play Division I ball.
Yes.
This is just for. I'm not taking away from my experience at Pitt at all for 1 second. But what I'm saying is, when you look down the road in your 40s or 50s, it makes every sense in the world when you talk about building a brand.
Yes.
If you're a star athlete in your home state, stay home.
Okay.
Because the benefits that you will receive 10, 20, 30 years when you're out of school are going to be immeasurable than if you leave the state, because you can't take advantage of that brand equity that you built at a school that's not in your home state where you grew up from, because we always venture back home at some point.
Yes, we do.
Most of the time.
Yes, we do.
So the fact that if you're ever looking for another job, you need to get a family member a job, you'll have some influence or affluence in the state which you grew up in. So that's what I've learned over the years. If I lived in Pittsburgh after I graduated, it'd be a different story. If somebody's planning on living in the state where they played. But even for any football players, I would encourage them to stay home if they can and go to the home school that is there, because the benefits down the road, you can't compare.
And you know what? I would tend to agree with you, but I think the challenge is when you've got a young person, 17, 18, 19, 20, all they see is I want to be on TV, right? And so had I stayed home in my home state, I would have gone to Rutgers. And at that time, Rutgers was not a big powerhouse And just like a lot of my colleagues, we were thinking about, we want to be on TV, we want to match up against the best of the best. So here we are. I understand your conversation here some 30 years later, but I don't know if young folks could make that massive decision at that time. I think.
But in answering your question,
Yeah.
like I said, I prefaced it.
Yeah.
I can look back.
Got you.
And of course, you're going to be young and you're going to, like I did, we all aspire to be on TV and match up against the best. That's why we made those decisions.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is, and I prefaced it, being the age that I am now,
Yes.
looking back,
Got you.
the better decision would be to stay in your home state, whether you're on TV or not.
Got you. Well, I think I think now they are levering my tongue's tied, Charles. They are equalizing the playing field.
Yeah, they're leveling the playing field. I got you.
That's the word that I was looking for.
Right. No, but regardless, there'll never be a level playing field if you match 30 years out of college from your home state, living back in your home state, versus 30 years out of college, playing for another school that's not in your home state and you don't live there. There's no comparison. There's absolutely no comparison, because you're always going to have the benefits of being a hometown state hero.
Okay, I see.
And going to your home state school, that will always have major benefits.
Okay, I got to think about that. But I on the surface, I understand. Yeah, I agree. All right. So when you came into Pitt, were you looking to be a superstar, or that just happened?
No, being a superstar, never. I just like to compete.
Okay.
All the status and everything that comes into its own just from the product of work that you put out and the practice and how you train and condition yourself to perform. All the accolades and all that just falls into place.
Gotcha.
Never did I focus. Look, I watched my first pro basketball game with Demetrius and Jerome at the Pizza Hut on campus my junior year of college.
Wow.
I never watched an NBA game.
Wow.
I never went to an NBA game. I went to the Indiana Knicks game and sat at the top of the bleachers when I was a New York Newsday All-Star, and they brought all the top high school players to the game in New York, and then me and my cousin left at halftime.
Wow.
But I never watched it, and the reason why I watched that game is because we were in the Pizza Hut and the game was on.
Wow.
So, and that was the first time I watched the NBA game from the beginning to the end.
So, but at what point did the lights go off and says, "Man, Charles, you can become a pro. You can make a run at this"? When did those lights go off?
After my leading the USA team in the World Games.
Okay.
In my junior year, when I came back after that, we won the gold. I led the team in scoring, and then that's when really the lights were coming on as far as, am I going to stay in school? And then after my junior year, I had a good junior year.
Yes.
If it wasn't for Babs Mowry, who was my academic advisor, I went to Babs and I said, Babs, I'm really considering leaving school and just turning pro. But before I make the decision, what's the easiest way to graduate? Excuse me. And she said, well, Charles, it's good that you're even thinking like that. Let's see. Let's look over your transcript. Now, I was majoring in communications.
Yes.
And my minoring in African American studies.
Yes.
And she said, well, looking through your transcript, if you changed it to liberal arts, you only need 20 credits to graduate. So you can do, you can do 12 to 9,
Okay.
and you'll graduate. And and I said, well, that's something to think about. I was like, let me see, 12 credits one semester, and then the last 9, and I'm in school. And then I had to look at my lifestyle on campus. I was like, oh man, I could defer that to graduate. And then when I thought about it, talked to my parents and came up with the decision to stay in school. So it wasn't a hard decision after that, because my goal when I went to college was to graduate and graduate on time. So I kept that commitment and did that. And that's one thing that I don't regret one bit. And I'm glad I did it, because I don't know whether, well, yeah, I would have went back and graduated. So I can't say that, but I'm glad I did it and got it out the way.
Awesome. Wow. So when did you start seeing the stars again? After you graduated, when did you start seeing the stars like, potentially I could be a pro baller? When did that happen?
I never thought about it.
Okay.
People were talking about it, but my premise and the way I approach life is take one thing at a time.
Okay.
You set goals for yourself and you work toward achieving those goals, but achieve it before you move on. Gotcha. And so, any talk about being a pro and all that, I kind of shrugged that off, because the next goal was I just wanted to graduate.
Gotcha.
And then it was after graduation, it was the Olympics.
Okay.
So that was all. I got through that. Then I got to the Olympics. And then after the Olympics, some of the guys were talking about the draft. I didn't even get into those conversations. When the Olympics was over, I started thinking about the draft.
Okay.
So I just took it one step at a time.
Man, you were methodical in your thinking and thought process, man. But let's go back to the Olympics. How did that come about? Was there a tryout to participate in the Olympics?
Yeah. Oh, there was a tryout in Colorado Springs. They had about 100 players trying out for the Olympics. A lot of players that probably should have made it got cut.
Okay.
And some of the players that were on the team probably shouldn't have been on the team. But that's how it always is. And there will always be people that have their opinions. But anyway, there was a trial, and we went from Colorado Springs. When we got down to 25, then we moved to Georgetown.
Okay. And
we trained on their campus. By the time we started traveling, we were down to about 17.
Okay.
And by the time the Olympics started, we had 15.
Wow. Who were some of your players on the team with you at that time?
David Robinson, Danny Manning, Mitch Richmond, Dan Marley, Sean Elliott, Charles Smith from Georgetown, Hersey Hawkins. We had a good squad. J.R. Reed. J.R. Reed. Yeah, and we lost our outside shooting threat when Hersey Hawkins went down with a bad ankle injury and had to quit the Olympics and go home. Okay. He was Hersey Hawkins was a great shooter, and we ended up losing in the semis to Russia by 6 or so, something like that. Okay. And then we ended up winning the bronze.
Okay. So you come back home, you get the bronze. Now you're transitioning your thought into let me get into the draft?
No. By the time the Olympics, we were drafted in June, and then we went off to the Olympics.
Wow. Okay. So you're already considered a pro now.
Yeah. Then after the Olympics, we went right into I went right to Los Angeles, into the city I was going to play in. So right after the Olympics, I was in Los Angeles.
This is so that was a whirlwind experience for you, man. Any highlights that sticks out to you that you always go back as a memory?
No, I think there were more lowlights than highlights with all that went on. One of the things that I talk about is, people look at, the NBA and professional sports, all you do is see the highlights
Got you.
There's a lot that happens behind the scenes. Well, my rookie year, I ended up getting a lot. It was stressful. We were losing a lot. I wasn't used to losing. I was doing everything that I could to try to win, and I wasn't socializing. I was going home to my apartment, looking at film and trying to will myself toward our team winning, and it was not happening. I ended up getting alopecia areata.
What?
There was a kid, not a kid. There was a guy on our team, Eric White.
Mm-hmm.
Now I was, you know me from college. I always look out for people.
Yes.
Just try to help people whenever I can. So there was one dude from Pepperdine. He had a 10-day contract, and at that time he would have to pay for his hotel room and get reimbursed. And he didn't have a lot of money. We developed a good rapport, and I was like, look, I got an extra place in my condo. Come stay with me. He was like, for real? I'm like, yeah, no problem. Because, it was toward the end of the season. We had about 2 months left. He didn't know whether he was going to be on the team.
Yes.
So I helped him save some money. I said, no, you ain't got to pay me. Just come on through. It was a blessing in disguise because I started losing weight, still playing, wasn't keeping my weight on, stressed out, lost my appetite. And one day I was in the mirror and I was brushing my hair and hair just fell out in the sink. I was like, what is that? And I rubbed it and I had this little bald circle on the side of my head. And then I was brushing my hair on the other side. Another circle on the other side of my head. I was like, what the heck is this? And then, one evening, man, I was so stressed out and couldn't eat. I was, when you throw up and it's down to that yellow stomach bile, you ain't got nothing left.
Exactly.
And my boy Eric came into the bathroom and he saw me like laying with my face on the toilet, sweating profusely. He's like, yo, what is wrong with you? I said, man, I don't know. I just feel so tired and drained. And I had just dropped like 28 on Golden State that night.
Yeah.
He's like, man, I said, man, I just probably should go to the hospital. So I went to Daniel Freeman Hospital. And the only thing the doctor said is like, wow, you're really dehydrated. They must have put about 10 IV bags of fluid inside of me that night. And I went to practice. Then I called the league. I had to see a psychiatrist. And after the first, they had 8 sessions set up. After the third one, I said, I got it. I don't need to come anymore. And what I got from the psychiatrist is that I needed to do something outside of the sport. I was too wrapped up in it. You have to have an outside light.
Got you.
So I got into listening to jazz. I started socializing with people more in LA. And I didn't take the game that I took it serious, but not as serious. It wasn't like live, eat, and breathe basketball. I learned to have a life outside of the game, which I needed. And so that was an experience. That was a low light that turned into a highlight because others in that situation might not have called and asked for help.
Yes.
And would have turned to, drugs and alcohol like so many do. Well, I was in that position, and I called for help. And I got the help, and I was back on track. The other thing, which was funny, man, this is my second year. So we had this place that we used to hang out after games. It was in Marina Del Rey. It's the Fridays, go there and have drinks and eat and all that. I started to notice, Kev, that the women out there would start calling me around, I want to say about 3, 4 o'clock. What are you doing?
Yeah.
I said, and I'm young. My rookie year. I'm young. And I'm like, no, I'm just hanging out. She's like, oh, just calling to see. You want to hang out? Want to go to dinner tonight? I'm like, yeah, sure. We go to dinner. I pay the tab.
Yeah.
And then, that was kind of a regular basis. Yes. Here's the defining moment. We lost the game, and I was at home. And I only lived 5 minutes from Friday, right around the corner.
Yes.
From Fridays. And everybody was there. And I would normally meet everybody there. They were there. And one of the girls called me and said, Charles, come on out. Oh, come on. Don't be mad because you lost. Come hang with us. Come have a drink. I'm like, nah, I don't feel like it. Then the dude would get on the phone. Come on, Fluid. Come have one with us. Blah, blah, blah. Right? All right, I'm gonna come by, but I'm not drinking, right?
Okay.
And I went by there, and then I sat outside the table. I didn't sit down with them because I'm still thinking about the game.
Yes.
And I'm sitting on the stool, not at the table with them. And then the girl says, "Charles, you wanna drink or something?" I'm like, "Nah, I don't want anything. I'm good. Y'all go ahead." The bill came, Kaz. The bill came. The bill came.
Yes.
And I started watching everybody pull their money out, looking at the bill, seeing who pays what.
Yes.
And I'm sitting there like, damn, I never saw this before. Why? Because your ass always paying the bill. And then I started thinking about it. That's why, I shouldn't say women, that's why guys and girls will call me around 3 or 4 o'clock.
Yeah.
Because I'm always paying the bill. So I'm like, damn, I'm a walking credit card.
Yeah.
So I cut that out.
Yeah.
That was a wrap.
Yeah. So let's take a break for a second. I want to ask this question, right? Speaking about the walking credit card, you didn't have an entourage, did you? It was just you.
No. To this day, I always rolled solo or maybe with a friend,
Gotcha.
but not a consistent friend all the time. Different friends, maybe one, but I'd say 75% of the time I was always solo.
How do people, whether it's basketball or sports or any other entertainment field, how do they get caught up with having the need for an entourage? How does that happen?
People like people to fan their flames, there's many reasons why that happens, but
Gotcha.
some people are not secure within themselves.
Got you.
There's so many different reasons why people run around with, 5 and 6 people. But that just wasn't ever me.
Gotcha.
I never was concerned about, not being able to handle matters, regardless of the situation I was in. Never was concerned about that. Never needed anybody fanning my flames or telling me how great I am.
Yes.
I never was like that. So just because I made it to the league, that wasn't going to change. I was going to start buying friends.
Yeah.
That wasn't going to happen. So
now,
I just enjoyed life as it was with all the people that were around me. And I was always friends to different people with different cultural backgrounds.
Got you.
Ethnic backgrounds and, different ages, and just kind of flowed and had a good time with a lot of people.
Now you can hang up the phone on me if you want to, Charles. Did you ever have like the Charles Smith fan club or groupie club with the women just always flaunting themselves at you, throwing themselves at you?
No, that I didn't roll like that. First of all, I'll tell you why. My first year in the NBA, we had to decide who the player rep was for the union.
Yes.
And my freshman year, my team voted me.
Wow.
And I didn't even know what it was.
Got you.
So it was, the fact that they saw me as a leader, or it was that nobody wanted to do it. One or the other. So, I hope it was my leadership ability.
That's what it was, Charles. Is your leadership
but it was a little
ability.
bit of both.
Yeah.
So, so I did that. And then the second year in the league, the executive director called me and said, I wanted to have lunch with you when he was in LA.
Okay.
And he said, look, we love your leadership. We think you got a lot of promise.
Yes.
We want to create a position for you to be in the union. We're going to create a position called the first right president, and you'll sit under the president.
Okay.
And I said, well, wait a minute. I said, I don't even know what that means. He says, no, we'll educate you. We'll teach you. You'll be fine.
Yeah.
So I got that position my second year in the NBA, which was huge.
Yeah.
And they created it for me.
Okay.
But now to answer your question, being in that position, I saw all the pitfalls.
Got you.
And I saw everything that happens while being in this game. I saw the documents.
Yes.
So everything that people would see on TV and the radios about this happened to this player, that happened to that player, I saw all the documents. And it scared the bejesus out of me.
I can imagine.
I can imagine. And I'll only say one, and it's not just women, it's men too. But I'm just giving examples of two that we're dealing with women that would get you to understand why I'm saying I didn't get into all that. So there was one guy who, and I'll tell these stories quick. There was one guy played for the Sacramento Kings. No, there was one guy that played for another team that was visiting the Sacramento Kings. Met a girl at a club, they hung out all night. He gave her his key. He went back to the room before her, took a shower. Key comes in the door. She's in the room. She doesn't close the door all the way and starts screaming to the top of her lungs. And he's laying in the bed like, yo, what you doing?
Yeah.
And screaming. She looks out, and this is how it's written. She looks out into the hallway, doesn't see anybody, continues to scream, then rips her shirt open. Buttons pop, buttons left on the floor.
Yes.
Doors open in the hallway of the hotel, and then she runs out and leaves.
Wow.
Next morning, knock on the door, detectives.
Yes.
Rape charge. He's married with kids.
Wow.
Okay? Yeah. That kind of stuff. Then there was another guy who had an extended relationship with a woman in Houston. He'd see her every time he went there.
Yes.
He wasn't married. She wasn't married, but she had a kid. One night they had sex. She took the condom off, went into the bathroom, came out, said, hey, my daughter's not feeling well. I have to leave. He says, okay, well, call me later. He doesn't talk to her for 6 months, then has a paternity suit challenging that he's the father of her child. And he's like, he can't believe it. Well, there was there was a control center close to where the hotel was.
Yes.
She didn't flush the condom. She ran to a control center, had it frozen, and got artificially inseminated and was pregnant by that dude. And he had to pay for 18 years. Now, when you see stories like that,
yeah.
What do you think I'm going to do?
Yeah.
And I'm seeing all this, I'm like, oh, heck no.
Yeah.
And so I kind of closed off to all of that, man.
Gotcha.
I wasn't running around. And
Yes.
if anybody who knows me, all my teammates, they all know that. So I'm not saying anything that's not true. I didn't get into all of that and didn't want to.
Wow. So going back to the second story, in a case like that, when the case comes before you guys, what assistance can you offer him? What support can you offer him?
Well, that's a whole nother conversation. That's
Gotcha.
That's legal stuff that has to happen for him personally, and all that. That's a whole nother conversation, and that's why I am who I am, because I didn't give you no names, and I don't get into people's details like that.
Understood.
That's just what transpired. But that's essentially what happened.
Wow, that's crazy. So now, how long are you on the West Coast? Because at that time you were paying for the Clippers, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
I was in the Clippers for 4 years.
Okay, all right. All 4 years, did you enjoy that experience? Was that a memorable, or ups and downs with the losing and winning?
No. The women weren't a problem. I was just kind of.
No. I'm not saying the women. I'm saying the losing and the winning, not the women.
Oh, I thought you said losing and the women.
I'm sorry, brother.
Losing was very tough. But
Yes.
with all experiences
Yes.
that you have, both good and bad.
Yes.
At the end of the day, it all depends on how you handle it, not how people think you should handle it. It's how you handle it as a person.
Yes.
And how you handle it gives you a perspective on how you'll treat things going forward in life.
Yes.
So I could not handle losing, but I had to learn how to handle losing.
Gotcha.
It forced me to learn how to handle losing.
Got you.
So that was my experience that I took away from it. It didn't make me less of a competitor,
Okay.
but I learned how to adjust to keep moving forward in life with a certain balance.
Okay. Now, during this time, Charles, do you have a mentor? Are you also coming back to Pitt to talk to some of the current players? What's going on there?
Well, I always keep, let me see, I had people in my life at different stages. You know how they say some people are in your life for a reason and some are for a season?
Yes, sir.
So I've had people in my life that I sought out
Okay.
that I liked, that I would ask questions and get sound answers.
Yes.
They were always there.
Gotcha.
So I think when I was in my early 40s,
Yes.
that's when I started getting mentors in my life. I've always kept a mentor that was a lawyer,
Yes.
uh, a spiritual leader, like a pastor,
Yes.
a finance person, and someone who just knows life, who just has an abundance of wisdom on life situations.
Yes.
And then somebody who helped me out in business. So
Gotcha.
I've always kept like 5 mentors, and they were incredible. Some have passed away, some are still in my life, but they've guided me and helped me. Without them, I would not be where I am today, and I really believe that God always sent people into my life at the right time when I needed them. And I would always say that throughout my entire life when I look back at it. People came in at the right time where I didn't make the wrong decision.
Got you. Now, we're going to take another break. I want to ask this question. Anyone thinking about having a pro career, what advice would you give him or her?
I would say, and this is only from my own experience.
Yes, sir.
I wouldn't think about having a pro career. I would think about being the best athlete, player that you can possibly be.
Okay.
Because if you're a pro, you're going to make it. You got to focus on being the best that you can be.
Got you.
And that's the bottom line. If you got the talent, it's going to get you there.
Got you.
But if you think about the pros like that and you start looking ahead at the pros, that's already an advanced talent.
Got you.
When young players look at pro athletes playing, they see the fact that after a play, they can walk up the floor for a little bit. Because they're pros, they can turn it on and off because they train those triggers in their mind to go to 0 to 60 in a second.
Yes.
So when players are young and they're seeing them walk, they want to walk the floor. No, you don't have time to do that. You're still trying to get there.
Yeah.
And then I would tell, at least in basketball, I'd tell every kid, stay away from the NBA games. Don't watch them.
Okay.
Watch women's college basketball.
Okay.
Watch women's college basketball when you're coming up, because the women in college basketball are so much more technically skilled
Got you.
than the men will ever be, because they don't have the hops. A lot of them may not possess all the athletic ability and the quickness, so they're very skilled in their footwork, their passes, how they run their offense. Watch them, because with your athletic ability, if you learn the techniques on how to do things right with your athletic ability, you could potentially be a pro. But don't focus on being a pro. Just be the best player you could be.
Now, by you saying that, you lead me into my next question. Have you ever thought about being a coach?
No.
Said that quick.
If I were to be a coach, I would coach high school. I would never coach college, and I would never coach the pros.
Okay.
Because I don't have the patience for everything on the periphery dealing with players.
Gotcha.
And when I give, and I want somebody to receive. I'm not trying to give and fight somebody. I'm not trying to fight to do good with somebody.
Got you. Okay.
Mm-hmm. And so I don't have the patience for that. And I know my limitations. I wouldn't do that.
All right. In your total basketball career, who was the greatest player you admired, and who was your toughest competitor?
The greatest player,
yes,
I admired is twofold. I can't put it into one.
Okay.
It was Julius Erving for his charisma, his professionalism, and how he carried himself.
Okay.
And then it was Rolando Blackman and how he competed every day in practice, after being an all-star, how he was a big encourager
Yes.
to every player on the team, despite of his circumstances of not playing all of a sudden and being injured and going through what he never gave up.
Okay.
Working hard, practicing hard, and encouraging players. That was admirable to me. Now, my toughest opponent was Pat Riley. That was my toughest opponent.
He wasn't even a player.
He was my toughest opponent.
Why would you say that?
Because he and I had mental warfare going all 4 years in New York.
Okay.
Straight mental warfare.
Got you.
I found that I was the last player traded for here in New York, and I found that he was not the one that wanted me. They kind of forced his hand. So when I got here, I actually ran into him in a restaurant in Greenwich, Connecticut.
Yes.
And it was a narrow restaurant.
Yes.
Very narrow. I got in, sat down, and then here who comes walking out and walked right by me and didn't even say hello was the coach.
Wow.
And I remember my wife saying, "What was that all about?" I
Yes.
said, "Nah, I don't know, but it's not good. You know, I'm 6'10" in a small, narrow restaurant.
Yeah.
And I sit down, he's in the back. You think he didn't see me? And there's only 3 or 4 families in the whole restaurant?
Yeah.
Come on, man.
Wow.
He saw me, and he walked right out without even saying hello. I didn't even know he was there.
Wow.
And it was a battle with him all 4 years to the time I left.
Wow.
With him keeping a thumb on me and never encouraging, always on me, always trying to break me and all that. And I would never let him break me. And we just went toe to toe. It was a mental drain playing under that man for 4 years.
Wow. Now, while you're going through that mental chess match with him, are you also still involved with the union?
Oh yeah, no,
Okay.
nothing.
Okay.
No. You have to be able to compartmentalize.
Yeah.
You know,
Okay.
I only thought about him when I woke up in the morning and get ready to go to practice.
Gotcha.
After I left, I didn't think about him anymore.
But did you ever have like a man-to-man, like, let me speak to you for a second? That kind of conversation?
Oh, all the time. But that's
Okay.
no different than a parent going into talking. I take that back. That's no different than a minority parent going to a school that is with. That might be a bad analogy. I better not go there. I better not go there.
You can go there, brother. Go ahead, man.
Nah, the bottom line is that, yeah, we had many conversations and they've
Gotcha.
gone nowhere.
Wow.
Just lip service and yeah. And it's
Okay.
right back to the same thing. So after 2 or 3 of those, I found it doesn't make sense to even go there again.
Okay. Now, when does the entrepreneurial juices begin to flow?
My entrepreneurial juices
Yes.
started flowing at age 10 when I got my first paperboy route.
Okay.
My neighbor was older and giving it up, and he asked me if I wanted to do it, and I was like, "What is it?"
Wow.
And he just said, "Look, you got to deliver papers to these. Here are the addresses. Here are the names of people.
Okay.
Here's where you want the papers delivered.
Yes.
The city will drop the papers off to your home on this date, and then you have to deliver them.
Yes.
And here's your route." And I was like, and then he said, you get money from tips, and the city gives you a little money. And so that was my first job.
Okay.
And I enjoyed making money.
Okay.
And that's where it started. And I'm still working that paper route today.
Wait. Are you serious?
It's an analogy, brother.
Okay, I got you.
Meaning that from when I started,
Yes.
the things that I learned,
Yes.
being an entrepreneur, and the
Okay.
commitment to
Understood.
serving others
Understood.
during the snow, sleet,
Yes.
rain,
Yes.
making money, it
Yes.
hasn't stopped, and I'm still doing the same thing today.
Because I was going to say, with your networking skills, you could have taken over several routes now, in your capacity.
I have,
Okay.
They're a lot larger and they expand across waters.
That's what I'm saying. But I'm talking about. Let's talk about this, Charles. Your career is winding down. When does your entrepreneurial juices start to flow again? When you're thinking about, okay, what am I going to do? What am I going to transition into?
Are you talking about after the game?
Yeah, after the game, after the pro career.
Oh, no. We can't even say it like that. I always had entrepreneur. I was always an entrepreneur while I played.
Okay.
Before I got there, and afterwards, when you think about it, Five Panther Soul at Pitt was an entrepreneurial idea.
Listen, I wasn't going to bring that up until the end of the conversation, but listen. Let me just say this real quick because I want my man to hear this. Harold George, I love you, and every time we do Cigar Tuesday, you be thinking Five Panther Soul ain't real, but I want you to know Five Panther Soul is real, brother. I'm talking to the co-founder.
Yeah, but if you think about it, look at the reason why I wanted to start it.
Yes.
If you remember when we were at Pittsburgh,
yes,
every weekend, one of those minority students on campus was getting knocked upside the head
yes,
by the police department. Nobody wants to talk about it.
mm-hmm.
If you think about it, those dogs were chasing minority athletes and everybody up and down Oakland Avenue. They released
Yes.
the dogs or hold them and let them bark and, all of that. And the final straw was when we were at Chatham College and there was a party there.
Yes.
And, it got late. And then all of a sudden, all the police showed up with all the dogs. And I'm watching all of us run back toward campus and those dogs barking. I'm like, what the heck is this? And I remember one of the track athletes got hit upside the head, and he was held in the little precinct underneath the towers. And so much was going on, but nobody talked about it. And we needed support, right?
Yes.
And then another thing hit me was some of the athletes that I had strong relationships with, they were here and then they were gone, and I couldn't figure out. And then all you heard was, man, he flunked out. He flunked out. Now, I remember when I was struggling academically at one point, my freshman year, trying to keep up with the travel and the demand of school and socializing. I'm trying to figure it out.
Yes.
They got me a tutor. They did everything they could to get me back in line to continue to be able to play, right?
Yes.
But when the football players and some players that they didn't want to keep, they didn't get that same support. And then the scholarship was gone, and then the next one came in.
Yes.
Right? So, and I think that happened to Stu, now that I think about it. So these were things I was like, man, we need to support each other.
Yeah, yeah.
And that was the genesis, and that's entrepreneurial endeavor. You have an idea. If you ideate, you have an idea, you come up with a solution. With that solution, you figure out how to execute, who you need to execute with, and you put it in motion.
Absolutely.
And that's all that was. And I did that numerous times in college. I did that while I played in the NBA. I became a good marketing executive while I was playing.
Okay.
And I did a lot of deals, large deals,
yes,
off the court while I was playing. And I carried it throughout. And by the time I finished playing, I was already working and had a nice position. And I transitioned right out of the game into continuing to work. So it never stopped from the time I had the paperboy route.
Got you. Understood that now. Understood. Now let me ask this question, because this is the Entrepreneur Enclave. When you're launching your business, how critical was the business plan for you?
The business plan is something that helps you, to me, your business plan is something that helps you follow your path toward success.
Yes.
But it's the preparation prior to the business plan that, as an entrepreneur, that you must understand. And what I mean by that is an entrepreneur must take on an endeavor that is not like work. They got to be passionate about it. If it's work, it's not going to work. They have to have the skill set and the know-how along with that passion.
Yes.
And then they have to have that drive and that no-quit determination for it to go the distance.
Absolutely.
And for it to win and be successful.
Absolutely.
Those are the things before you even talk about a business plan. You know, you got to know the direction in the field that you're going into.
Yes, sir.
And I always tell people, if you want to get into a position where you're working and it doesn't feel like work every day, then do these two things. Number one, ask 5 people who know you very well to give you 5 adjectives that describe you. When they give you those 5 adjectives, ask them to drop it down to 3, then cut it down to 1. Now you got 5 adjectives from 5 different people. When you see them, 2 out of 3 of them will be the same. That's the adjective that you bring into the job.
Yes, sir.
The second thing you want to know is, who are you? Ask 5 people around you who know you the best. Why do you hang around me? Why do you like being around me? Some will tell you, you give good advice. They might say, man, you're funny, man. You always keep it light.
Yes.
They might say, you're a great listener. Whatever it is, you're going to hear 2 out of 3 of those things, and that's what you bring. So if you bring the action and the character trait and match that to a field that works for you, you will be happy working in a position that never feels like work every day of your life.
I love it.
And that's before you get into a business plan.
I love it. Okay. Let me ask this question, Charles, if I may. And I know that when we were talking about this some years ago, I don't know if you want to talk about it, but I want to talk about it. So, but we don't have to if you don't want to. When you and Dennis Rodman connected, how was that relationship formed?
Yeah, I just talked to Dennis like 3 weeks ago.
Okay.
But it was formed based on business.
Okay.
I had already been doing, I decided to take former players internationally, Asia, Southeast Asia, South America, and play exhibition games against top talent from those areas, those territories. And I took Dennis out with me one time. And when I realized the gifts that Dennis had, and the only way you could realize it is you got to be a person that treats everybody the same,
yes,
regardless of your circumstances.
Yes, sir.
And when I treated Dennis like everybody else, I got to see Dennis for his gifts and who he was.
Yes.
Is he a little zany? Yeah. However, I use the term sly like a fox.
Got you.
He knows what he's doing.
Got you.
He knows how to fill seats.
Yes.
He knows how to treat people. He knows how to entertain. And he just grew up in an environment that he mastered. He mastered the clubs. He mastered the entertainment platform. He mastered giving people what they want. He was great. Out of everybody in the world I ever met, any entertainer,
yes,
he's one of the best.
Wow.
He's one of the best.
Wow.
He knows how to fill seats.
Yes, sir.
If people want to see him in blonde hair and pink lipstick, and it's gonna put 20,000 people in the stands, and it's gonna put $40,000 in his pocket.
Yes.
What is it to him? He's like, I give them what they want.
Got you. Got you.
And he'll perform.
Yes.
When I realized his genius, I went with him I took him to every trip I was on, and he did exactly I would go to him and say, Dennis, what do you think we should do here? I'll give you a true story.
Okay.
We were in Macau,
Yes.
and we were doing a game at the Venetian. And this game wasn't against other players from the territory. This was, I think, 12 street ballers and former NBA players against each other. And, you know, I was doing a walkthrough for the reception the night before, and Dennis was like, he was like, where you going? I said, man, I'm getting ready to go meet with the CEO. His last name was Tracy. We're going to talk about the reception. He said, all right, I'll come with you. Yeah. So we're walking, and he's not saying anything, and he's checking everything out. We're walking through the casino all the way to the back where the reception was.
Yes.
And then, you know, the guy, last name Tracy, who was the CEO, said, yeah, we're going to run a red carpet right here, and everybody can walk in and take a picture against the step and repeat and come on in. So we're walking away. Dennis says, you don't know what the F you're doing, and neither does he. I'm like, you know, what are you talking about? He says, look, do you want this place filled up? I was like, well, yeah, it should be filled up. He says, no, that's not what I asked you. Do you want it filled up? I said, yeah. He says, do you want me to fill it up? I said, yeah. He says, all right, here's what I need you to do. See this red carpet? Turn it that way and run it through the whole freaking casino. I was like, Dennis, do you know, look how long that is. He said, let them figure it out. He's like, let them figure it out. You don't worry about that. Let them figure it out. Wow. He started pointing his finger and dropping it down. Like, you know, like he's a teacher. Let them figure it out. You just run this red carpet. Tell them you want the red carpet to run all the way through the casino. All the way through. I don't care. 100 yards, all the way through. He was talking like that. I was like, all right, but what are we going to get out of it? He said, just leave it to me. Let me do my magic. This is why I'm here.
Okay.
This is why I'm here. That freaking place was overflowed, packed. Couldn't get any more people in. And where was he? Sitting in the corner with a little, he got them to put some poles around him where you couldn't get to him. Yeah. By himself. Okay. Sitting in a chair, watching everybody.
Wow.
And I'm like, figuring out. And I'm like, this dude, this is when I realized he knows his stuff. You know why he said that?
Why did he say that?
Because while everybody is in that casino, all during, you know, the 3 or 4 hours before our event,
yes,
they all see the red carpet. They're like, what the heck is this red carpet?
Got you.
They're all looking at it while they're gambling. They're all looking at it, and they're all asking questions. What is the red carpet? What is the red carpet?
Yes.
Then what do? They just immediately just walk on the red carpet to see where the hell it goes.
Yeah, okay.
And then we had the little lights shining on the wall back there.
Yeah.
When you turn the corner, you see these little lights, and like, what's going on? Just out of curiosity,
yes,
the place was packed.
I love it.
And then because it was packed, when they come inside, when you look across the room, who do you see sitting up on the podium in like a king's chair but Dennis?
I love it.
I love it. Dennis was masterful. He understood what made people move.
Yes.
And so when he called me about Korea,
yes,
I was like, sure, but let me do some due diligence and let me see how we can put this together and make sure it's done right.
Yes.
And that was it.
Wow. Did the government give you any heat when you guys went there to Korea?
Look, the bottom line to Korea is that the right people knew what we were doing,
yes, how
we were doing it, and when we were doing it.
Got you.
That's the bottom line. Okay. And that's all we cared about.
Got you.
So it was a phenomenal trip. You know, when you look at what Richard Nixon did in '72 with the ping pong tennis match,
yes,
with China, that opened the doors for communication. This was no different.
Okay.
Matter of fact, this was more intimate because we were there for over a week. So it was
Wow.
more intimate.
Now,
It was more intimate.
now, personal question with that: who compensated? Who paid for that? Was it Korea, or was it our government, or you had to raise
No, no, no,
outside
no. We
outside
were
funds?
no. This was a production company
Okay.
that paid us, but our passage was with the Olympic Committee of
Okay.
Korea.
Okay.
Yeah, it was the Olympic Committee that brought us over. Everything was done above board. And,
Yes.
we were paid by the right people. Wasn't, I wouldn't do anything illegal. And I was astute enough to ask the people the right way to do it.
Yes.
So, and Dennis had his people that were excellent because he had been over there before. So we teamed up and put a really great trip together.
Is there a book coming out, Charles, with everything that you've done thus far, man?
Everybody asked me that, and eventually there will, because I have, I think I have some things to say that can help people, especially with, dealing internationally, being an entrepreneur and persevering and pivoting and always being able to change and have options. All that is very important when you move through life, and the people you have around you, and eventually I'll put something together.
Now, what's your current business doing now?
I do a lot of work internationally now, and the one thing that I can say, and I'm comfortable saying, is that I'm with a team of people from around the world, and we're building college in Dubai. We're building an integrated kind of Oxford University for HBCUs in Dubai, and I'm enjoying it. I just came back from there with everybody meeting for 4 days, and it's going really well. A great team of people, very educational. I love the project, and I can't wait to see how everything plays out and it gets done. But it's a life-changing project. And the things that I think about now, I don't get involved in anything unless it's a legacy item or a financial payout that's in perpetuity. If it's not one of those two things, don't call me, don't ask me to get involved, because you can't get my time.
Gotcha. Well, first of all, man, before I ask that question, I am so glad that you allowed me to interview you, because this is going to add to my legacy. I interviewed the great Charles Smith. Thank you, brother.
Come on, man. Come on, man.
But I want to ask this question. I want to make sure I understand the letters correct. You are trying to build, or you will be building, a HBCU in Dubai?
Yeah,
That's all right.
Yeah, no, it's an opportunity for the HBCU students to go to an Oxford type university to get prepared for life after college. So they'll get the latest in the medical field, finance, entrepreneurship, and so it's a great concept. It's for Northern Africa, UAE, and the United States. It's a collaborative effort. I'm happy to be a part of the team. They got some great folks doing it, and it's going to be a beautiful project when it's done.
Wow, man, you are operating and moving in silence. I wish you nothing but success on that project and anything else you continue to do. But let's talk about your legacy, because that's another question. What does your legacy look like for Big Charles?
Well, I got the physical legacy in my 4 sons.
Yes.
And all 4 of them are doing well. I couldn't be happier, couldn't be more proud. They're all 4 of them are very close to one another.
Yes.
They're close to their dad. I love the fact that they call me at least once a week to ask advice about things, to talk about things. I love the relationship I have with my sons, and I love the relationship they have with each other.
Yes.
So that is a staple that will continue to grow. Outside of that and for that, when I talk about legacy, it's how am I impacting others before I leave this planet?
Yes.
That college is an opportunity. There's a couple others that I'm working on. Like I said, I don't work on any financial deals unless it's in perpetuity or it has something that can help me make money while I'm sleeping. Yes. So when you're doing that, you can pass that down to those 4 crumb snatchers that I have that are doing real well.
Yeah.
So, and it goes beyond them, because my oldest son made me a grandfather last month.
Oh,
he and his wife.
Congratulations,
Thank
man.
you.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you, Cameron David Smith.
Yes.
And so my oldest son kept the legacy of the initials CDS.
Yes.
So that was nice. And so I'm looking out for Cameron.
Yes.
And some of my grandsons that aren't born. So that's what keeps me motivated,
yes,
keeps me active in what I'm doing and what I reach for, because that's important for me. And it takes time to plan to get to this place
yes,
where you have the opportunity to be in the presence of people that can afford you that opportunity and that you can create with others that are like mine and think like that. So it's years and years of it's years and years of relationships and relationship building,
yes,
where people can call you and say, "Hey, Charles, we're doing this, and we think this would be a great opportunity for you. We'd love for you to be a part of it." You know,
yes.
When I continue to get those calls from around the world, that's a beautiful thing, because those are relationships that I've nurtured for years. And after they grow and they're doing their thing, it's just a matter of them calling somebody else and say, "I got the best person for you for this." And I get a phone call, or I get an email, or I get a WhatsApp message, whatever it is.
Yes.
And I get to decide. And sometimes it doesn't work out to work with them, but there's a relationship to be had.
Yes.
And when you learn to treat people all the same,
yes,
and you learn to accommodate people and not tolerate people, let me say that again. When you learn to accommodate people and not tolerate people,
yes,
it'll take you to another level. 90% of the people don't understand that. 90% of the people walk around tolerating people all day long.
yes,
When you can change your spirit and learn to accommodate people, it takes you to another level. People can see your authenticity. They can see how genuine you are. They can feel you. They can feel your wavelength, your energy, versus you tolerating them, and you think you're getting over and you're playing, and your phoniness comes out. Trust me, because there's a lot of brilliant people in the world that can detect you tolerating them,
yes,
but they just don't say anything. My grandfather always told me, "Charles, when you think you're the smartest tool in the toolbox, that's going to be the time somebody's going to bop you upside your head." And I never forgot that.
Yeah.
Because never think you're the smartest person in the room. Don't you ever think
Yes.
you're the smartest person in the room, because that's your downfall right there.
Gotcha. Now, speaking of receiving phone calls from all over the world, did you ever get a call from the NBA in Africa, that league that they were putting together?
I mean, I talked to some people that are dealing with that group, and I have relationships with some people dealing in that group. Absolutely. You know, sport is a international language.
Yes.
I'm not going to say it's a sport, it's an international language. And those who understand how to speak it well
Yes.
will always have opportunities within sport internationally,
Yes.
because, you know, sport is one of the only, I want to say, gifts
Yes.
that can bring cultures, different ethnic backgrounds
Yes.
together on one stage to share and celebrate something that they all can understand, and they don't have to speak the same language.
Understood.
And when you understand that, you'll always have calls and deal with people in that part of the world for, you know, in sports. So yeah, I mean, I have relationships with people in Europe in sport, China in sport, Africa in sport, Malaysia, you know, yeah, I have people all over the world that are, you know, key decision makers and people in sports. So yeah, I that's where I came from. So yeah, I always maintain relationships there.
Now, Charles, with some of the time that we have left, and I want to thank you for giving me the time thus far. Is there anything that you thought about or you can think about in terms of changing the industry or changing the basketball? Do you like the way basketball is being played currently now?
I absolutely love the way basketball is being played now.
Okay.
And the only reason why I say that, I'm not going to be one of these people who don't accept change.
Okay.
There's billions of dollars spent in this country
Yes.
with people sitting in chairs talking about how they can't accept change.
Yes.
So you have to accept change.
Yes.
And you have to deal with change. You can't fight it. There's always, the game will always evolve, the rules will always change, and the players will always evolve. So the only thing that I had to deal with change is when I retired, to be able to go to the game and sit with popcorn and watch the game.
Yeah.
And watch the game.
Yes.
My first years out, I wasn't watching the ball. I was like, man, that was a terrible screen. Man, what are they doing off the ball over there? He should have been there already. And dissecting the game.
Yes.
I stopped doing that. I go and I'm a fan.
Yes.
I watch the ball movement.
Gotcha.
When the ball, I'm like, my eyes are on the ball like any other fan.
Gotcha.
And I've learned to do that. I've learned to accept the rule changes and things, because it's never going to be the same. The money's never going to be the same. Things are always going to change. So I love the way the game is. I love to see, a 7-footer bring the ball up, spin, dunk, and go to the hole.
Yeah.
I wish the game was like that when I was playing, because I was ahead of my time. I wish they would have put the ball in my hand, because I could handle the ball.
Yes, sir.
I ran into coaches that wanted to keep the ball out of my hand. So, it was a different game, man. So I'm not going to sit around and complain about it. I love the way it's played. Gotcha.
Charles, you are my man, brother. Anything else while we're on this platform you would like to share? Because I can continue to talk to you forever, brother. This is good. This is the first time in quite some time we had an opportunity to kind of chop it up like this, man. So I want to give you the platform. Anything else you want us to know about you, brother?
Well, I probably should explain more about what I said about, tolerating people versus accommodating, because I could be around you, Kevin.
Yes.
And I know that we're going to be spending the day together.
Yes.
And I won't see you after that day. So I'll come in with the smile, give you some dap.
Yes.
And I don't really like you. And I'll try to make you feel good, not cause any issues, and walk away because I don't have to see you anymore. So I just tolerated you for a day. Right?
Which is not true, though. Which is not true. You love me, right?
Oh, that's never true.
Okay,
Never true.
Okay.
Never true.
Just an example.
Okay.
To make sure.
Okay. I was talking about Kevin Schnubbenham, not you. and nobody else listening will understand what I just said.
Exactly.
but it could be a John or Joe or anybody. But I wouldn't. And I just tolerate him for the day, and he maybe he would know, maybe he wouldn't know, but I knew what I was doing.
Yes, sir.
You build relationships by willingly wanting to get to know somebody.
Yes.
People will pay attention to if you're asking them questions about their culture, their race, their religion, their music, their food, and where they're from, and how they got to where they are. That's engagement.
Yes.
That's accommodation.
Yes.
People recognize that, man. And I've learned at a young age and taught my sons when they were coming through college, create experiences with people, real experiences. If you're in the cafeteria at school, go see somebody who you see walking through your dorm and go sit next to them and start a conversation and make it meaningful.
Yes.
I said, and you could do it just that one time, 20 years down the road, if that kid is a CEO or she's a executive somewhere and you called her and said, this is Chaz Smith we had lunch together at UPenn, they will remember it.
Yes.
Because you were accommodating.
I love it.
They're not going to remember you tolerating them.
Yes.
So I thought I should explain that further because I kind of just dropped it out there. And I do a whole big speech on tolerating and accommodating, and I share my experiences through travel internationally, how I learn more about myself through travel and all of that. But that'll probably be the last thing I say, because I didn't want to throw that out there without giving some context around it.
No, you didn't. I thank you for coming back, circling back around to share that. You mentioned that with all the travel that you do, both internationally and abroad, what is something that you found out new about Charles Smith?
That I was a little arrogant.
Okay.
And not as arrogant as a lot of other Americans that travel.
Gotcha.
But when you travel around the globe, you'll have no problem as long as you read the signs.
Okay.
And you pay attention to the rules and the laws
Got you.
of the country that you're in. And you'll have no problem.
Got you.
Doesn't that sound so simple?
It sounds simple, bro.
But what do people do? They go to these other countries and think that they can do what they want, act the way they want to act, and they get themselves in trouble. They end up in jail. They end up in issues that when you strip it all down, it comes down to you shouldn't have been there.
Yes.
You shouldn't have been acting like that. If the sign says don't do that. I mean, you walk into Singapore.
Yes.
There's a sign as you're coming through customs.
Yes.
If you have any contraband, if you litter in the streets, they got straight up laws that you see coming in Singapore.
Yes.
Singapore is one of the cleanest cities in the world.
Got you.
They don't play that.
Got you.
They're telling you the rules.
Yeah.
They're telling you the rules. You follow the rules, you have a great time in Singapore.
Yes.
If you're a litter bug like we are here in the U.S.,
yes,
and you chew a piece of gum in a wrapper and you just throw it out on the street and somebody sees you and you're recorded, you go to jail.
Wow.
It's that simple. It's that simple.
Got
It's
you.
that simple. You are going to jail.
Yes.
The sign told you will serve time.
Yeah.
You will be in prison
Yes.
if you do these things. So I've learned to obey the rules and laws
Got you.
of people. And now the story that I have, like an American, and I have a relationship with my bank. I grabbed some American Express checks and I didn't sign them before I left the bank.
Yes.
And I went off to China.
Okay.
I needed a traveler's check cash. And I pulled it out my wallet, put it on the table, pulled out my IDs. I said, oh, and I signed it right there. And I gave it to him.
Yes.
Chinese girl goes in the back, comes out, puts it back on the desk and says, sir, no, and slides it back to me. And I slide it back to her and say, what do you mean, no? And she slides it back, no. I was like, oh, I get it. My signature, because I just signed. Oh, I'm sorry. I give her my license. I give her my passport.
Yes.
I give her the check that I just signed. I said, look at the signatures. 1, 2, 3. All the same. And I put the check back to her. And she pushes it back. No. And I start to get a little angry and a little irritated, a little agitated.
Yes.
And I start to raise my voice. What do you mean? No. It's my signature, right?
Yes.
Now people are looking. And this woman is now getting a little concerned, and she walks in the back.
Yes.
She comes out with a manager, and she gives me the check back and says, no. Well, at this time, I was studying at Seton Hall.
Yes.
I was on an exchange program studying in China at Beijing U, Situ University, and Tsinghua University.
Yes.
And the professor comes over and says, Charles, what is the problem? And then he talks back and forth to the people in Mandarin.
Yes.
And he says, come over here. And he says, now, what is the problem? I said, I signed my traveler's check in front of her, and I just want to get, cash. I want $100 off this traveler's check. And he says, were you supposed to sign the traveler's check before you left your bank in the country, in the U.S.? I said, yeah, but I forgot, and I just did it in front of her. But Professor Ian, this is my signature. You look.
Yeah.
And he says, no, Charles, you look. I want you to look at that girl right there. And I'm like looking at him. He said, no. You turn around and please look at that girl right there.
Yes.
And I looked at her and I turned back. He says, that girl went through a lot to get that position at the bank. There's 150 girls behind her that don't have a job at this position in this bank.
Yes.
She is not going to do anything other than the process and procedure here at this bank and in China. And they are not going to bend the rules for anybody in China because we don't do that. And they're definitely not going to bend any rules for you, being an American, who feels that you can bend the rules.
Wow.
And I felt like so small.
Yes.
And I said, Professor, you're right. You're absolutely right. And I went back to the girl and I said, I kind of put my hands together as if I was praying, and I bowed my head and I said, I'm so sorry.
Yes.
And then I went to the next place next door, gave them my check, and they said, no. And I said, what? And then I went back to Professor Yin. He said, no, well, you're in a certain ring in the district in China. So now everybody in this ring knows
Yes.
who you are. You have to go outside the ring, and I'll take you there to get it cash. I was like, wow. So you learn your lessons, man. You learn your lessons. You learn your lessons, and you understand in China, they're about process and procedure, man.
Yes.
That's their culture.
Yes.
They're not changing for anybody.
Yes.
And, I've learned so many lessons like that through my travels. That's why I said I learned more about myself traveling than I did in any other time.
Now, I want to ask a question, Charles. What's the perception of the black man around the world versus the white man around the world?
Oh, you want to go there. You know what? I'll answer it this way.
Yes.
And I'm not going to say black and white. I'm going to say everybody.
Okay.
I found that what we all have in common around the world is that everybody wants to get ahead.
Okay.
Everybody wants their families to do well.
Yes.
Everybody wants an opportunity to succeed.
Yes.
Everybody wants an opportunity to make money. Now, you and I can both say, if you look about at 99% of people around the world, and I make that statement, you'll say that that's true, right?
Absolutely, yes.
Right. The difference is when it's communicated or when execution takes place, that's when we have problems.
Got you.
Would you agree?
I would agree, yes.
Now, because we have problems through the communication and the execution, the solution to the problem is the execution and the communication. When you understand culture and people,
yes,
and you find a way to work with them, because we all want to get ahead, and you find that happy medium, it's like magic. It's divine. It is literally divine.
yes.
I am so enlightened when I run into people and we of a different culture,
yes,
and we find a happy medium that works through our communication and execution to get ahead together. And that's the bottom line. And it doesn't have to be black and white. It's everybody all over the world. Now, here's the problem.
yes,
There are certain cultures that don't want to share, that just want to get ahead on their own
yes.
and want to take from everybody else. Well, there you have it. That ain't going to work.
Yeah.
It'll work for them,
Yeah.
So, but again, when you have two people of different backgrounds that find that happy medium, it's divine, and it just works.
Now,
Unfortunately, we don't have, that between a lot of the black and white folks here in America, and what's true. Citibank put out an article where the United States lost $16 trillion throughout the banking system due to racism. It's a fact.
Wow.
It's a fact. I'm not saying anything that's incorrect. It's a fact.
$16 trillion.
$16 trillion. I'll send you the article. You can Google it. Google 16 trillion loss in banking or something like that. It'll pop up.
Wow.
But that's based on racism in banking.
Yes.
It's a fact. During the high time when cotton picking was huge in this country,
yes,
cotton was 59% of the U.S. economy. Who was doing all the cotton picking?
We were.
So that wasn't a happy medium. That was a group of people taking advantage of another group of people. So some people don't want to work together. They just want to take. But I can leave your show, and thanks for having me on, by saying this. We are in a stage in time where the playing field is being leveled through technology.
Yes.
It's being leveled through technology. And it's a beautiful time. From my perspective, I see a lot of cultures working together in technology. And I also see some cultures that don't want to do the same thing and don't want to work with people.
Yes.
But at the end of the day, the technology is the best platform for all people around the world to get ahead. And it's going to happen.
Yes.
It's happening now. And I'm excited about it because I see it. So things will change over the next 3 to 5 years for a lot of different cultures. And we'll be forced to work together in ways that we haven't in the past.
Yes.
And excited to see the progress taking place already.
Yes. Yes. Charles, my mind is running 1,000 miles a minute. And one of the things that keeps coming to my mind was you did an eloquent job like a surgeon on this platform. I thought we were going to get down with the nitty gritty, but that's all right, brother. I thank you, man. I thank you.
You got it, Kev. And I got to actually hop now. I told you I had to go somewhere this evening, but brother, it's been great talking to you.
Absolutely.
Always a pleasure.
Absolutely.
Always a pleasure.
Hey Charles.
I absolutely love all the people that I met at Pitt.
Yes.
And I love running into them, talking about the past and how they are in the future.
Yes.
Looking forward to seeing a lot of them in I think it's May in DC. So looking forward to it. And thanks for having me on.
Listen, brother, I'm going to extend this to you. You're always welcome on this platform. Nothing but continued success and blessings, brother.
You got it. Thanks, guys.
Let's talk and text later
All
on.
right.
Peace now.
That concludes another episode of The Entrepreneurial Enclave with Kevin Wortham, the podcast that focuses on building, maintaining, pivoting, planning, and investing in you, the entrepreneur. We hope you found this episode informative and enlightening. If you have any questions or comments about any of our episodes, please call 609-731-9311 or email Kevin at minding-our-business.com. We look forward to joining us for our next one. Until next time.